Hey, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for another weekly track roundup. This past week was pretty much a holiday week. We had Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and everything, so not an intense week of song recommendations and opinions over here. It's going to be a pretty short edition of the weekly track roundup, so let's get into it. First off, let's shout out our Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links. Hit up that Turntable Lab link. Get yourself a colorful pressing of a record that I reviewed on the channel, a turntable, some speakers, some audio gear. It supports the channel, supports the segment. Also, shopping days coming up, Christmas presents needed. So, if you're going to be buying some music, some auditory gifts, might as well be with the link that supports the channel that you love the most. And want to shout out one more thing. This Perfume Genius cover of Bobby Darin's Not For Me, sort of the official version, has hit YouTube now. And it's pretty atmospheric, pretty dramatic and gorgeous, as you would, I guess, sort of anticipate any Mike Hadria song to be. And let's move into the tracks that I thought were the worst this week. Only a couple to shout out. One, Vic Mensa essentially tries his hand here at some dark and edgy emo rap with the song Dark Things, and some very awful nasally vocals on this thing, some cringy lyrics. I mean, listen, a lot of this emo rap stuff, it's been pretty rough. You know, there have been a lot of bad emo rap songs to drop, but this is easily one of the worst, and I just don't ever want to hear it again, frankly. Let's get into the tracks that I thought were kind of meh this week. Weren't blowing me away, but were certainly worth attention. Whiston. Producer Kai Whiston has dropped a track, actually many tracks this week as his new album is out, but there is one on his new record which is pretty packed full with glitchy bangers. This one particular cut, Your Secrets, features our boy Clarence Clarity. He's not all over the track or anything, but he does add some interesting little bits of vocals here and there to a very colorful and busy hard-hitting instrumental. Also, I'm just noticing now that the fake parental advisory sticker in the corner sort of talks about or rather depicts the title of the record, Kai Whiston Bitch. So that's pretty fun. Moving on from there, Fontaines DC to Real is the name of their new single. The other side of this single has dropped the song The Cuckoo is A-Callin. It's much more toned down than the last track that I talked about from them last week, which was a kind of wiry, exciting, intense art punk tune. This is more of a downtrodden indie rock ballad, but still not that bad. Moving on from there, Aesop Rocky has dropped the track Sundress, which I talked about on the Fantano channel, gave an extensive review this week. All in all, I mean, the Danger Mouse production isn't bad. The Tame Impala sample on this cut is okay, and even Rocky's attempts at trying to pull off a neo-psych pop vocal, it's not the worst in the world, but as far as songwriting goes, it's not all that compelling. It's kind of like a chorus, a little tiny verse, a chorus, and then it just kind of bows out. Not a whole lot to it. It sort of seems like just a taster in this style overall. And finally, in this section, I want to shout out the new Billie Eilish song, Come Out and Play, which is essentially a new ballad / single that she's dropped in promotion with this new Apple ad campaign. It's not a bad tune. I mean, not a huge payoff to it or anything, but it's a very, very pretty vocal and instrumental to it. So, Moving on from there, let's get into the best tracks this week. First off, Weezer is back. The Black album is on the way. If you guys remember the last single they dropped from this record, I enjoyed it quite a bit. And that's pretty much the case for this new song over here, Zombie Bastards. It's kind of odd. I definitely hear elements of Weezer's last full-length record in this song, and just how slick and synthetic a lot of the production is. However, I still feel like the band has successfully maintained a bit of a dark edge or an emotional edge going into this song over here. It doesn't sound too much like just straight pap. It doesn't sound disgustingly summery or anything like that. It's a pretty decent tune, and I do like the way the kind of beats play into the guitar samples at some points of the track too, so it's pretty cool. All right, moving on from there. Moving on from there. Next up, want to give a shout out to Surachai, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's been a while since I've talked about this project, but a new song over here titled An Unfamiliar Reflection Activates a Gate, featuring Aaron Harris. And this is a wonderfully noisy and industrial ambient track, reminding me of greats like Lustmord. It's really heavy, it's really dark and foreboding. Not a huge amount of progression to it or anything, but the sounds are incredible. I love the sound play on this track. I love the sound play. It is absolutely gorgeous, if you do care for hideous sounds, I guess. Moving on from there, Meek Mill has a brand new cut out titled Oodles, a Noodles Babies. It is pretty hard-hitting. The lyrics get down to some pretty gritty subject matters with a bit of a social edge to it as well. Definitely one of his better flows, vocal performances, and instrumental choices in a while. Got to give it to him on this cut. It's been a while since I've been this excited by a new Meek Mill single. Hot Dad has dropped a new track out titled My Tape in celebration of a new tape that he has out. So, hey, support the boy, Hot Dad. He's got a new tape out. Get his tape, get his material. Dude's been creative and prolific as hell, and his music is certainly worthwhile. Moving on from there, Earl Sweatshirt, new record on the way very soon, and has dropped a new song with this dude by the name of Navy Blue. The Mint is the title of this thing. Did a full-length review of it on the Fontaines channel. It's a really claustrophobic, oppressive mix and sound on this track, and Earl and Navy go into some really depressing subject matters. Like, this is an incredibly dark piece of very abstract and grimy underground hip-hop, and I don't know, I'm just kind of liking the creative direction Earl is taking things in lately. Moving on from there, next one. Aesop Rock and Tobacco, believe it or not, have teamed up for a new project by the name of Malibu Ken. Debut track single has been released from it. The title of this track is Acid King, and the whole track details, I guess, some of the background and lead up to the murder committed by, or rather, a highly publicized murder committed by Mr. Ricky Casso, who has had numerous songs and books and documentaries about just how much of a madman he was. The occult backdrop of his crimes, the heavy bands he listened to, the drugs that he did. And Aesop Rock really kind of goes into detail on all of that over a very eerie, weird, and twisted instrumental from, of course, Tobacco. Very interesting to hear these two working together, and just from this first track alone, kind of seems like this collaboration is going swimmingly. And I'm pretty excited to hear more. And ladies and gentlemen, that has been the weekly track roundup for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you got some good recommendations out of it, and I will catch you in the next one. Remember, all the tracks that I talked about in this video are linked down there below in the description box, and I'll see all of you soon. Anthony Fantano, weekly track roundup, forever